The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The rise in jet fuel prices prompted airline regulators to drive up the fuel surcharge. This now raises the fear among travelers of having to pay more expensive airfare. Gerard de la Peña with the story.
Airlines are also feeling the pinch of soaring fuel prices. The increase prompted the Civil Aeronautics Board to raise the fuel surcharge level this month by 3 notches. From level 4 in May, the CAB implemented fuel surcharge level 7 this month. This means that carriers may add up to 768 pesos in their respective airfares, depending on the distance of the destination. Fuel surcharge for international flights also range from 1,000 pesos to nearly 10,000 pesos. This is bad news for several OFWs like Dema, whose round-trip fare from Rome to Manila reached around 58,000 pesos from the previous 36,000 pesos.
Yung ginawa namin sa agency na kinuha namin ng ticket, yung parang installment lang, parang ganun. Siyempre para sa amin mahirap din, kahit sabihin mo na OFW, siyempre mahirap rin maghanap ng pera.
Mara's family spent a few days in Boracay after scoring promo fares worth 1,900 pesos. But now that fares can be much more expensive, she's thinking twice of spending much more for the holidays. For its part, Cebu Pacific said it uses new engine option aircrafts which reportedly consumes 25% less fuel.
Kumbaga, mas maliit ang consumption mo ng aviation fuel kumpara noon. Malaking tulong siya lalo na ngayon na tumataas ang presyo ng krudo.
Other airlines, meanwhile, are still hoping to bounce back from losses they incurred due to the pandemic. According to some airlines, passengers can expect more seat sales to make traveling more affordable soon. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
The LTFRB says jeepney drivers who don't ply roads can be penalized. That's because their decision to stop working amid the rising oil prices may be considered abandonment of route. Mon Gualvez with the details.
Amid the incessant oil price hikes, some jeepney drivers reportedly stopped going on trips altogether. One of them is Jerry.
Grahe din ako kapag medyo matumal kasi talo tayo sa diesel eh. Sobrang mahal, isang ikot 500 tap, Quezon City. Walang mangyayari, papagod lang, maabuno ka pa sa diesel.
However, based on LTFRB Memorandum Circular number 2004-34, not going on trips constitutes abandonment of service, where the penalty is cancellation of their certificate of public convenience and franchise.
If all things are normal po, ang ganyan po na ayaw po na pumasada, may kaakibat po yan na penalty po supposedly. Pwede nga din po yan na mag-constitute as abandonment of route.
But because of the situation now, where a liter of fuel products is now almost 100 pesos, LTFRB will be giving considerations.
For humanitarian consideration, naiintindihan din po talaga ng LTFRB yung ibang mga walang kakayanan na po talaga, lalo na yung mga individual po na operators no, na nahihirapan na po talagang mamasada. Naiintindihan po namin yung sitwasyon nyo ngayon, pero at least man lang during the peak hours po, sana magtulungan po tayo.
The agency adds they're also doing everything to expedite the release of the second tranche of the fuel subsidy for drivers. They are expecting to be able to distribute this in the first week of July.
Meron kasing 5 billion na unprogrammed funds ngayon, sir. So, mag-a-apply po ang LTFRB through sa DOTR ng 5 billion po. At kung papalarin ay makukuha natin yung kabuuang 5 billion. Kung hindi po, yung 2.5 billion po yung magiging makukuha po natin. So, it will be either 6.5 or madodoble po.
But for now, drivers are pushing for a fare hike as they can no longer work with just the 1 peso provisional minimum fare increase. LTFRB promised that before the current term ends, they'll issue a decision on the fare increase petition filed in their office. The hearing is set on June 28. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
To cope with the rising cost of fuel, motorists have started choosing motorcycles over cars to save on gas. Mon Gualvez is back with this report.
As fuel prices soar and as traffic remains terrible in Metro Manila, more motorists are ditching cars for motorcycles. This allowed Jensen to save as much 6,000 pesos.
Mas tipid yung motor sa kotse. At the same time, mabilis ka makapunta sa pupuntahan mo.
But going on two wheels has risk, including what Jensen calls kamote riders. These are riders passing through bike lanes, narrow streets, and tight spaces between four-wheeled vehicles. According to the Metro Manila Development Council, there have been over 8,000 motorcycle-related accidents in Metro Manila from January to May. Over 100 riders were killed in some of those. The MMDA is now reviewing whether to bring back exclusive motorcycle lanes.
Para hindi na sila masagi or makasagi din. Pangalawa, siguro para for monitoring purposes, mas madaling makita kung sama-sama sila doon. Pangatlo siguro dyan is yung para maiwasan din yung mga motorcycle na pumapasok sa bus carousel.
As for transport professionals, bicycle lanes should also be given priority.
Habang may bisikleta kami, minsan bigla kami papasukan ng isang sasakyan o bigla kami papasukan ng isang motorsiklo. Kailangan protected at permanent.
But to further ensure safety, motorcycle enthusiasts advise to invest in quality safety gears, which includes a helmet, riding jacket, gloves, and elbow and knee pads.
Check nyo yung quality, kung kamusta ba yung impact, kamusta yung foam, comfortability as well, i-check nyo din. Sabi nga nila, mas mura pa rin ang mga safety gears and helmet instead of sa mga kabaong or magpa-ospital.
As for one rider party list, in order to prevent kamote riders, authorities should also catch kamote enforcers.
Napakapangit kasi na ikaw tagapagpatupad. Nanghuhuli ka ng mga violators. Pero ikaw naman mismo hindi marunong sumunod.
For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
We have some breaking news. President-elect Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is adding 3 new names to his cabinet. Incumbent Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara has accepted the nomination as Solicitor General for the incoming administration. Meanwhile, former AFP Chief of Staff General Jose Faustino Jr. is being tapped as Senior Undersecretary and Officer in charge of the Defense Department. Finally, former Senator Juan Ponce Enrile will be Marcos Jr.'s presidential legal counsel. Stay tuned here on One News for the latest on this development. We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Despite higher fuel costs, the Trade Department assures the public that the prices of basic commodities will remain stable in the next few months. Speaking on One News, the Chief's Trade Assistant Secretary Ann Cabochan said prices of basic necessities like canned goods, soap, and bread will still be stable in the next 2 to 3 months. She explains that based on their computations, not all basic commodities will be affected by the fuel price hike. Still, Cabochan encourages customers to check out the agency's ePresyo app so they can monitor the prices of certain goods online before hitting the stores. The official also said consumers can also use the app to lodge complaints on overpricing.
I would not say that we would see significant increases in prices. There's a computation there, and we look at other inputs or raw materials such as the cost of packaging, tin if it's canned goods, or even other raw materials, fresh produce that goes into these products. So we look at all of that and not just oil. And our assessment as of this time, we can assure the consumers that we see that this will be stable at least for probably the next 2-3 months.
Let's fast break now to the latest in the 2022 PBA Philippine Cup. Meralco dealt Converge its worst loss yet in the 2022 PBA Philippine Cup yesterday at 90-74. Aaron Black tied his career high with 25 points to lead the Bolts to their second win, creating a three-way logjam at the top spot with rivals Ginebra and San Miguel. Alain Maliksi also powered through with 22 points on 5 three-pointers, while top guard Chris Newsom supplied 19 points in the rousing victory. For Coach Norman Black, defense and rebounds were the key factors in their recent victory against Converge. But Black says they can't afford to be complacent, with the defending champs TNT Tropang Giga as their next opponents. And speaking of TNT, the Tropang Giga suffered their first loss at the hands of the NLEX Road Warriors in a come-from-behind win at 90-89. Don Trolan came through in clutch with a jumper with less than 3 seconds remaining to seal their victory. NLEX coach Yang Yao admits that it wasn't easy to defeat the Tropang Giga. But for Kevin Alas, their next fight will be even harder, considering they'll have to face Ginebra.
It's an added motivation for us. Yun na nga, siyempre yung last conference, yung Governor's Cup, yung Ginebra yung tumalo sa amin yung semifinals. Of course, every conference naman games we look forward to is against Ginebra because of course they're the crowd favorites. At the same time yung tinalo kami ng semifinals. Siguro yun na nga, that alone na yung talo namin nung semifinals, talagang motivation na para sa amin yun na para bumawi.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 11 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.